The availability of COVID-19 booster shots is expanding to 16 and 17-year-olds. The FDA and the CDC cleared them today to receive third doses of Pfizer's vaccine at least 6 months after their second shot. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization warned wealthy countries against hoarding vaccines for booster shots as they fight the new Omicron variant. The White House braced today for more bad news on inflation. November's numbers are expected to show another spike. In a statement, President Biden pointed to a drop in gasoline prices and said, quote, "The information being released tomorrow on energy does not reflect today's reality." Aides also cited a drop in initial claims for jobless benefits to the lowest since 1969. The president also spoke today with Ukraine's president, assuring him of support in the face of a Russian troop buildup. Earlier this week, Mr. Biden offered U.S. diplomatic efforts to address Russia's security concerns. But the U.S. State Department said today that that does not mean bargaining away Ukrainian territory.
There have been absolutely no deals cut. There have been no concessions made, no such elements even discussed. What this is not is an effort to discuss borders, to discuss Ukraine without Ukraine. We're not going to do anything with Ukraine without Ukraine, our partner.
Moscow said today that the time for negotiations is nearly over, and it compared the situation to the Cuban Missile Crisis. A federal appeals court has rejected former President Trump's effort to withhold records related to the U.S. Capitol assault. A 3-judge panel ruled today that congressional investigators need the president's diaries, notes, and other material. Mr. Trump is expected to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Also today, it was widely reported that New York State's Attorney General Letitia James wants to question former President Trump in a civil investigation. The focus is on whether the Trump Organization illegally manipulated the valuations of its properties. That news came as Attorney General James suspended her campaign for governor of New York. The first-term Democrat cited ongoing investigations and said that she would seek re-election as Attorney General instead. The U.S. Senate has moved closer to raising the debt ceiling and averting a national default. A bipartisan bill allowing for passage by a simple majority passed a key procedural vote today. It would let Democrats raise the debt limit without Republican support in the evenly divided Senate. Former Senate Majority Leader and presidential candidate Bob Dole lay in state today at the U.S. Capitol. His casket arrived in a somber ceremony as lawmakers, friends, and family gathered to pay tribute. President Biden praised Dole as, quote, "a giant of our history," and urged Americans to follow his example.
America has lost one of our greatest patriots. We may follow his wisdom, I hope, and his timeless truth. But the truth of the matter is, as divided as we are, the only way forward for democracy is unity, consensus, the only way.
Dole's funeral is tomorrow at the National Cathedral in Washington. He died on Sunday at the age of 98. The first lawsuits have been filed in the Michigan school shootings that left 4 students dead. The parents of a wounded girl brought 2 federal suits against school officials, seeking $100 million each. They argue that the killings could have been prevented. A 15-year-old sophomore faces murder charges in the deaths. For the first time, workers at a U.S. Starbucks outlet have voted to unionize. Results from a store in Buffalo, New York were announced today. A second Buffalo store rejected a union. The coffee giant has actively opposed unionization for decades. And Wall Street's rally paused today as investors took profits. The Dow Jones Industrial Average stood still, losing a fraction of a point to close at 35,754. The Nasdaq fell 269 points, 1.7%. The S&P 500 dropped 33. Still to come on the NewsHour, the top U.S. general in the Middle East discusses the flashpoints in the region. Despite a high vaccination rate, Vermont's health system struggles with a rise in COVID cases. A new book argues the focus on anti-racism has had a negative effect on the Black community, plus much more.
This is the PBS NewsHour from WETA Studios in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.